Still 4. Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, off and running, starting you off at 74 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. Brian here with you, John LaBeouf producing. Yes, we're all on fumes. Yeah, fake it till you make it this morning, y'all. But what a huge night last night. What an unbelievable night across the board last night. Whether you're talking about the presidential race, and look, drop your politics for 1 second, because what went down last night politically or what went down in the national election last night, or the presidential elections last night, was pretty monumental. Pretty monumental. And to see it play out the way it played out in real time was remarkable. Now, step away from that, and here locally in Baton Rouge, we have a runoff coming up that is, we're going to talk about it later on in the show, obviously. But what we saw last night in the mayor's race was remarkable as well. And I mean, like, historically remarkable. Really, really good stuff. Whether you're, look, I know if your side did not win last night on any level, whether you're talking about the mayor's race, the congressional race, the presidential race, or anything up or down the ballot, if your side did not win, there's a lot of hurt feelings this morning, to be sure. But when you remove the emotion and step away from it, it was an election night for the ages. So let's not waste any more time. Top stories and trending. Let's go.
Number 5.
Starts us off in the Caribbean this morning with Hurricane Rafael. We're already seeing maximum sustained winds of 100 miles per hour. Rafael should cross over western Cuba late today, on into the night. It'll be in the Gulf of Mexico by tomorrow. It will maintain hurricane status for a couple days. It continues to look like it's just going to lag out there in the Gulf of Mexico, which is great news for us for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, as the Gulf is a little bit cooler than it was while all the other hurricanes were ripping through, it's not going to feed the storm as much as it would have. Number two, the more it lags out there, the more it's going to continue to hook west as well. It's not just going to sit still, but while it idles, it moves, right? But we want to continue to see this thing move west. Number three is it's not going to step on high school football on Friday night or LSU Bama on Saturday night, as it's looking like Monday it's still going to be floating around in the Gulf as a tropical storm. So we're continuing to keep an eye on Rafael, to be sure. It is a November hurricane, which is rare, but not unheard of. But we'll watch it just a little bit with a little bit less anxiety, I guess.
Number 4.
Louisiana voters approved a proposed amendment to the state constitution that will see federal revenue from coastal renewable energy production be placed into a coastal protection and restoration fund as opposed to the state's general fund. Under the current law, CPRA, the Coastal Protection and Restoration Authority, receives oil and gas money from sources at the state and federal levels. This amendment adds revenue from alternative energy sources to that coastal restoration fund. In voting for the amendment, voters chose to see federal revenue received from renewable and alternative energy in the coast placed into that particular fund.
Number 3.
Parish voters also approved a pair of tax renewals funding the local park system amid questions about the agency's financing. A proposal to change the way the city parish government operates was defeated as well. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But let's get back to Breck. Breck was looking for the renewal of property taxes that among them would bring in about $50 million annually. The taxes allow for acquisition and operation of public parks and their various programs, and Imagine Your Parks 3, and the vision that's going to take the park system through the next 20 years. Both Breck items on the ballot passed last night.
Number 2.
Darrell Hurst, Twana Harris, Carolyn Coleman, and Lori Adams all won their Metro Council races last night. Eugene Collins is going to take on Anthony Kennedy in a runoff in District 2. Brandon Knoll and Eric Smith Sr. will duke it out over in District 1. They both advanced. All the other Metro Council seats were unopposed.
Number 1.
It'll be Sid Edwards versus incumbent Sharon Weston Broom in the runoff for mayor president in East Baton Rouge Parish. Edwards was the leading vote getter yesterday with 64,862 votes, or 34%. Mayor Broom picked up 58,843 for 31%. Ted James ended up in third with over 53,000 votes for 28% of the vote. That sets up the runoff between Coach and the mayor. Oh, what's trending there, John?
Honestly, I couldn't find anything.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Nothing. That's about right for us. It's just a slow news morning.
Slow news morning.
Slow.
Ever reaching. No, but really, is there anything trending that isn't, about the presidential race this morning?
So you got to really dig deep, right?
Right.
You're talking page 3 of Google at this point. Just so widespread. But to have a president be the president, then not be the president, and then be the president again, it hasn't happened much.
No.
This is not the norm. And then to have a guy with zero political background before his first run for president. I mean, just everything about this, just the way the campaign shook out, the way that just the name calling going on, it was, the fever pitch with which the hatred from the left to the right is flowing right now. It just all of it wrapped up into one. Yep. I tell you what, though, I'm a little bit worried about the next couple days. Just the fallout.
As always,
as a Republican, and I haven't been the biggest Trump supporter along the way, but as a Republican, I'm asking my fellow Republicans, be nice.
Yeah.
Don't spike the football. Just hand it to the referee and go back to the sideline. You won. We won.
Yep.
All right. What else is going on?
Yeah. Let's see. Victories yesterday by Jim Justice in West Virginia and Bernie Moreno in Ohio gave Republicans control of the Senate.
So, you walk in, you got the presidency now, you got the executive branch.
Yep.
Republicans now have the Senate. House, not so much. But you do have what you need to make some headway in pushing forward a Republican agenda. And I don't mean, Issue 2025 or Project 2025, whatever the scare tactics were of the campaign. I mean, putting our economy back together. I mean, tightening up the border. You have enough going on right now in one side of the legislature and the executive branch in order to get some stuff done.
Yeah, absolutely. And something that doesn't have to do with the presidential race this morning is former LSU turned broadcaster and minority owner Tom Brady.
Not LSU.
Wait, I said NFL.
NFL. You said LSU.
LSU?
You said LSU.
Did I?
Yeah.
What's wrong with me this morning?
Was a late night. This is going to happen a lot today. Punchy. Punchy is the word of the day.
Former NFL star turned broadcaster and minority owner Tom Brady will not face any punishment from the NFL for his criticisms of referees during a recent game between the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions, according to multiple reports.
I am shocked by this news. I'm absolutely shocked by this news.
Really?
Yes, because the NFL, the no fun league, the NFL, for like wherever they can, they shut down anything. Like,
yes.
We've seen it with end zone celebrations in the past, and eventually they lighten up on that. We've seen it with cracking down on the type of cleats that dudes can wear. And just everything about the NFL's MO in the past is kind of thrown out for this because it allows somebody to take shots at referees now. So now the door is open a little bit. Tom Brady can do what Tom Brady do.
Yeah.
Now I guarantee you there's a side part of the story where he was told, don't do it again.
Oh, we know that, yeah.
Yeah.
But to face no repercussions, no real repercussions for it.
Right. So it's 6:13, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. We get a break. We got to talk sports. Marshawn Lattimore, he gone. We'll talk about it next.
morning, Keith. Keith says, what's up with the new picture frame? You don't like it, Keith?
It's on the way to further advancements on the video product. We're going to be getting more active on that front. It's going to be a slow burn, a slow build, but yes.
Yeah, I tried zooming in on you. I don't know what's the deal with the remote, but
Say again?
I was trying to get it to where.
Yeah, we got to figure that out because that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
It needs to be zoomed to a regular 2-shot.
Yeah. Because then I was thinking, we got a guess. Of course, we'll zoom out, but I don't know if this is. Yeah, this is not working. They replaced the batteries yesterday, I believe.
Yep.
But.
.617 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. It is sports time. It is Alabama week, Alabama hate week for some, and it's odd, man. It is weird because it's Alabama week, and we've talked more about the Saints, and that's the kind of thing that's going to happen when you fire a coach, right? Well, now they've traded a Pro Bowler as well, so we're going to have a lot more on LSU Bama on Thursday and Friday, to be sure. After the SEC coaches teleconference today, we'll be able to hear a lot more from Brian Kelly. Game day's coming to town. We're going to focus in on that a good bit. But when you've only got just a couple minutes for sports, something that, LSU Bama happens every year, even when it is this big of a battle. Got to check in down in New Orleans, and we're going to do that again because, okay, where the Saints are at right now, and the trade deadline in the NFL yesterday, you had to wonder, were they going to fire sale the team? Were they going to get rid of as much salary and dead weight and as much financial liability as possible in order to build draft capital and build for the future? Were they going to sell off the whole team or as much as they could because the coach is gone now? Do you bag this season? Well, not really. They traded Marshawn Lattimore, a Pro Bowl cornerback to be sure, and they traded Lattimore and a 2025 fifth-round pick to the Washington Commanders for a third, fourth, and sixth-round selection next year. Mike Detillier is an analyst with WWL. He says the Saints are trying to get a little bit younger and shed salary, but they only did it in the one spot. They really have been in kind of a draft drought, as it were, over the last couple of years as far as hits versus misses. Detillier believes Lattimore goes down as the Saints' best cornerback in franchise history. I love Mike Detillier. Yes, 1,000%. That's what you got to do. You've got to hit on, let's say 2 out of the 3. Nobody's going to hold you accountable for that 6th-round pick. That was the only big move the Saints made heading into the trade deadline. So it wasn't a fire sale. It wasn't a fire sale, to be sure. They'll still be primarily intact come Sunday for the Falcons. Here's the Fox Business Report. By the way, good morning, Christy. I'm not in Facebook yet, because I've got to do something in the next segment. I sent you those cuts, John. I literally don't. I don't know what order I want to run them in. You got them all loaded up. Yeah. I'm going to start with political victory. Let me write this down so I keep on task too. Important movement. Look what happened. We will fight for you. Golden era. And make America great again.
All right. So
How long do I have?
until you get to traffic?
Yeah.
Oh, not long at all. You got maybe 45 seconds.
Okay.
Okay, so production note here. No sound bites on Facebook.
Do what?
They're saying no sound bites on Facebook.
Was Facebook in 4?
Yeah, it was in 4. Let's see if we can. I don't know.
We'll see if it's in this segment. If not, they're not gonna have sound bites today.
We already know that we are watching.
Oh, let me do this. All right, heading back to the Shaw Bills Tire Traffic Center. You got your normal volume coming in from Denham Springs on I-12 westbound. It clears up a little bit after Range Avenue on into Baton Rouge. You're not going to slow down again on 12 West until just before the 10-12 merge as you kind of approach that construction. I-10 westbound coming in from Ascension Parish looks great right now. 10 eastbound coming in from Port Allen, equally great. I-110, no problems there. Both bridges are looking good. Moving over to surface streets, I want to start off over on Highway 30 in St. Gabriel, just west of Highway 74. I'm showing a whole lot of delays in both directions. It has to do with a crash that is right by LSU Ag Road. The crash is west of, like I said, west of Highway 74. So out there in St. Gabriel, you are going to find a lot of delays on Nicholson or on Highway 30 as a result of that crash right now in moving in both directions. Bringing it back into Baton Rouge, there are no surface street accidents reported right now. That's your look at traffic from the Shaw Bills Tire Traffic Center. It's 625, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. We're going to break down a lot of the local races from last night, a lot of local results from last night in our next segment. I do want to take just a quick moment to talk about the presidential race. I know we don't focus on national politics a whole lot here, but a presidential race is a pretty big deal. So we will do that. Let's go ahead and hear a little bit from Donald Trump's speech last night, talking about things just on the political front first.
It's a political victory that our country has never seen before, nothing like this. I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president and your 45th president.
The president continued on talking about the movement that, just his agenda and those who have gotten behind him.
Frankly, this was, I believe, the greatest political movement of all time. There's never been anything like this in this country.
One would argue, Mr. President, that, I don't know, the revolution might be up there with it. Abolitionism might be up there with it as well. But I'm not going to step on you. It was your night last night, so you do you, boss. That being said, there was a lot of questions going into yesterday as to how close this would be, but
we overcame obstacles that nobody thought possible, and it is now clear that we've achieved the most incredible political thing. Look what happened. Is this crazy?
He continued on about how now that the election is over with, the fight actually begins.
I will fight for you, for your family, and your future. Every single day I will be fighting for you, and with every breath in my body, I will not rest until we have delivered the strong, safe, and prosperous America that our children deserve.
He then went to bed. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. I will not rest. At the end of this campaign, you darn well better rest or you're not going to be up for it, my man. No, by all means, go get some rest. You don't clock in until January 20-ish, so have at it. Talking about that Make America Great Again movement, he also referred to it as a golden era.
This will truly be the golden age of America. That's what we have to have.
Honestly, if you're on the right, that's what we're hoping for right now, right? And I'm going to get back to this in just a second. I got to wrap up the sound bites with the president with, of course, the tagline for the whole campaign.
This is a magnificent victory for the American people that will allow us to make America great again.
And there it is. The tagline that has won him the presidency twice, the tagline that has had him vilified so much, the tagline that has been a divider in this country for over 8 years now. And we got 4 more to go. That tagline right there, when printed on a bright red hat, seems to be a trigger. And everything about this man, his candidacy and his presidency has been a tale or 2 different tales. A tale of what comes out of his mouth versus a tale of how it's reported and what we hear, or how it's misconstrued and taken. And I'm not blaming all this on the media. Some of it, sure. But there is what is, and there is what we're told. For example, let's start with abortion. Abortion, an issue that the left felt was the most important issue of this campaign. Women's reproductive rights, which I've never understood the term reproductive rights when your aim is to not reproduce, but that's neither here nor there. Donald Trump said repeatedly throughout the campaign that abortion being a states' rights issue was his goal, and he got what he was going after. He achieved his goal on that front and has no intention of making anything further on the abortion front a matter of political fodder or a matter of his agenda. And yet it was a talking point throughout, a divisive talking point, to be sure. Let's talk about that Project 2025 for less than a minute as we got a break for news here. This didn't come out of the president's mouth. Nothing about Project 2025 was part of the president's agenda. It was co-opted from another organization that the president has some ties to, the right has some ties to, but it was elevated to this thing of sci-fi novels to make it seem like tomorrow is going to be some kind of dystopian dystopian world. None of that was part of the president's campaign. And right now, and from now until mid-January, now's time to start rebuilding so that when the president does take office, he can do so wanting to lead and not wanting to continue to have to heal. Here's news. What? Oh, shit. Same, same. Very much so. None guesser? Oh, yeah, love him. Yeah. Where was this? 10. Yeah. Westbound. You got 10, 11, and 12 here? Okay. Damn it. Oh, of course, of course. Yeah, I might end up between all of different military leading up towards the weekend. I might have two other segments before the weekend's done. So election day rain wasn't as bad as we thought. It was spotty, to be sure. But what's the rest of the forecast looking like? Walking us up to Alabama weekend. Here's Emma Kate Cowan. Galen says, when can we expect to undo the Cleo Fields election and have the court case about this illegal district? As soon as the Supreme Court's in 2025. It is on their docket. Did y'all hear the cuts at 625? Yeah, same here. .638 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Republicans take the White House. Republicans take the Senate. House, not so much, at least not locally. Cleo Fields is back in Congress, winning his seat outright, winning the 6th congressional district seat outright with 51% of the vote, avoiding runoff. Political analyst Bernie Pincinat says Fields was set up for the win from the start.
It was created for him. It was created to be a black district, so the Democrats got their wish. The district was created so that they would dominate it, control it, and win it, and they did.
It couldn't have been more created for him if it was a Starbucks order, and they misspelled his name on the side of the cup. Like this district was carved out. Cleo could have gone house to house, picking which houses he wanted in the district. That's how carved out this was. Now it flips the seat from Republican to Democrat, which means now in Louisiana we have 4 Republicans and 2 Democrats. Pincinat says that could alter the balance of power in the House overall.
Adding a Democrat to the ledger on the Democratic side, we still don't know who will control the House. So Cleo does add 1 vote to the Democrats and takes away 1 from the Republicans.
Stepping away from that district, and we'll get back to in a second, Mike Johnson's speakership hangs in the balance as a result of this election. Just as a note right there, Mike Johnson, who won last night with 86% of the vote. And can you believe Mike Johnson was challenged within his own party? The other person on the ballot in the 4th was another Republican. I don't know why I find that so baffling. But when you've got the Speaker of the House, if you're on the other side, if you're a Democrat, okay, I could see getting in the race to give him an honest challenge. But someone from your own party is going to take down the Speaker of the House, the 3rd most powerful position in the country, or 3rd in the chain of command, the most powerful position in the House. Someone from your own party and your own district says, nah, Shreveport don't need that help, bro. That did not make sense to me. Anyway, Mike Johnson did talk with his supporters after pulling down this win.
We believe in the founding principles of the country. We believe in the ideas of faith and family and freedom, and we're trying to live that out every day. And it's not always welcomed in the nation's capital, but it's very important for us to do that.
Steve Scalise, Julie Letlow, Clay Higgins, and Troy Carter also won their re-elections. Public Service Commission District 2, John Paul Couson beat fellow Republican Julie Quinn and Democrat Nick Laborde. And the constitutional amendment on the ballot passed by about a 3-1 spread. Those were your statewide races right there. Going back to the Cleo Fields versus Elbert Guillory race, the thing that I was looking at the most going into that race was Quentin Anthony Anderson as a young upstart, as a guy who just no real history in running a race of this size, to be sure, but put his heart and soul into this and pulled out 8% of the vote. Put forth a very, and again, he's a Democrat on the left, and I'm a Republican on the right, but he put forth a very thoughtful campaign and dove into the issues head first. And I was wondering the entire time, was that going to be enough to pull enough away from Cleo Fields to win it? And then I started looking at the numbers after the race was over, and I was chasing the wrong dog. Elbert Guillory, there's 10 parishes in this race, in this district. Elbert Guillory won 8 of them. He did not win Baton Rouge. He wasn't going to win Baton Rouge because, well, that's where all the carving up came from. That all, the Republicans in Baton Rouge kind of went over to Julia Letlow's district. But not only did Elbert Guillory not win Baton Rouge, he only pulled 25%. Cleo Fields got 51% overall, which means that if Elbert Guillory had pulled 5% higher, maybe even less, in East Baton Rouge, we'd be looking at a runoff in that race. 5% higher in East Baton Rouge, not 5% higher for the whole thing. He only needed 1.5% higher for the whole thing. But 5% higher in Baton Rouge. If he could have gone from 25 to 30% in Baton Rouge, we'd be looking at a runoff. And we'd be looking at a runoff right now that it would involve unbelievable amounts of national dollars because the balance of power. Because the power is hanging in the balance, I should say. We would have been looking at the RNC focusing on Baton Rouge, focusing on District 6 because of the level of importance and a level of attention that needs to be given to that. Fell just a couple points short in one parish out of 10. Now, the other parish where Elbert Guillory lost out at, I got to pull it back up here because I've got this thing open in real time. The other parish where he lost, where Cleo Fields beat Elbert Guillory, was Caddo, and it wasn't close there. It was 66-17. Quentin Anthony Anderson actually pulled 12% in that one. But you're talking about the part of Caddo Parish that is the 6th district was a grand total of 37,600 votes. So you weren't going to change the results of the election in Caddo Parish. But you could have pulled a little bit better in East Baton Rouge Parish. And I think that could have been the difference maker right there. We could have been looking at a runoff today if there was a stronger presence in EBR. 8 other parishes he won, though. It's amazing. You got a 10-parish district. The guy who wins 8 of them ends up falling short to even push a runoff in the whole dadgum thing. Let's move over from the congressional race to the mayor's race. We got Sharon Weston Broom squaring off against Sid Edwards in the runoff right here. Sid Edwards garnered the largest number of votes last night, 64,862. That's good for 34%. Sharon Weston Broom is in with 58,843 votes. That's good for 31%. Ted James, for all of his efforts, for all the work that he put in, and he put in a lot of groundwork, y'all, he pulled 28% of the vote. Now, how is this going to shake out for the runoff? That's the big question for the next month, right? Well, first of all, disabuse yourself of any idea of Coach having, or Sid Edwards having an easy walk here because he already has the lead. To get from 34% to 50% should be an easier road than getting from 31% to 50%. But now's the part where we have to start looking at what kind of caps does Sid Edwards have on his viability as a candidate. How much farther can he go? Well, let's start by looking at the rest of the candidates in the race. Tammy Cook, who pulled out of the race, by the way. Tammy Cook got 2,500 votes for 1%. I think it's safe to say that we can move Tammy Cook's vote over to Sid Edwards. Nathaniel Hearn, who got 2,100 votes for 1%. We can move that 1% over to Sid Edwards. So now he's from 34 to 36. Add Steve Myers is 2%, or 4,500 votes. So now he goes from 36 to 38. So now the path to victory for Sid Edwards is looking at needing 12% of the vote over of that belonged to Ted James. Does he have that? Ted James is 28% of the vote. How did that stack up? Was that a matter of Ted James got all Democrats who didn't like Sharon Weston Broom? Or did Ted James have a good chunk of Republicans who were trying to be pragmatic about things, saying, a Republican's not going to win, let's roll with Ted? Or Is there a percentage of Ted James's vote that said Ted James is, he's a thoughtful guy, he's a hardworking guy, he's a Baton Rouge native? Where does that chunk of the vote go? Can Sid Edwards pull 12% from Ted James? And then there's one other X factor here that's going to be important for the next month. Coming up on December 5th, the want to go out and vote, the who's going to show up is always the biggest question. And the X factor on the December ballot, funding for St. George. Moving that 2% sales tax from EBR to St. George is on the December 5th ballot, so I can guarantee you St. George is going to turn out on December 5th. That should lean in Edwards' direction. We got to break it here. We're talking with the U.S. Marine Corps next. Marine Corps League, sorry. Gotcha. Well, come on in. Have a seat. You're here. We'll pull that around.
How many segments do we have?
We have one 8-minute segment.
One 8-minute segment?
Yes.
Okay. Because when I was on another radio station, they gave us 3 segments so we could break it down.
That is a lazy host who didn't put together a show. No, I'm just kidding.
He was doing music in between.
Oh, no, doing it different. We're
You
8 minutes.
talk.
We're 8 minutes of conversation.
No problem.
So yeah.
St. George definitely will be out there. I'm in St. George.
Yeah. So he's going to have St. George. He's going to have Central.
He just has to get,
What he needs is Mid-City. What he needs is Scott McKnight, Paula Davis, both endorse Ted James. He needs that to move over there.
He gets Ted James to endorse him instead of.
If I'm Ted James, look, and I can put my own politics aside and look at things objectively, there's no way in hell Ted James should endorse Sid Edwards.
No.
Because you need Sharon Weston Broom's backing when you run again in 4 years.
Uh-huh.
So if I'm Ted James, I don't let the sun come up today without endorsing Sharon.
Yeah.
That's
Well, I know. But them two did a smear campaign against each other. Okay.
Ted went after Sid more than he went after
I know
Sharon.
he did.
I mean, his spots led
He
with the
hurt-
murder rate.
He hurt some of the votes because of that.
I know.
I don't know why he did that, but I mean, I don't like politics like that.
Well, it was logical for him to do that. It made sense.
He was trying to be the number 2.
Right.
And he didn't realize.
Because
Sid
how
was
long
doing
have you lived in Baton Rouge?
Besides the Marine Corps, my whole life.
How many times have you seen in the last, say, 30 years, the Republican make the runoff and then peter out?
Just about every election.
Yeah. So that was the reason behind that.
Mm-hmm. I was hoping that they'd split so much of the vote that Sid would get enough where there was no runoff. But he didn't do enough.
Not gonna happen. Not with Baton Rouge's makeup.
I know.
The demographic makeup is impossible on that.
Since Katrina, we had 200,000 from Ninth Ward came in, and that pretty much messed our numbers up.
Mm-hmm. What do I do with my pencil? I had a pencil. There it is. Nope, that's a pen. All right. Pen, that's fine.
I have it closed in your book. No?
That's all right. It's right into this Marine Corps League.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and we're always on Facebook Live.
Okay.
Andy says, get the no names on board, offer James a position, and get him on board. The no names aren't going to be a problem. But yeah, if I'm Ted James, politically speaking, there's zero reason to side with Sid right now. .652 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. We're going to step away from elections. We're going to step away from the special session. We're going to step away from all this for just a hot minute because this year marks the 249th birthday of the United States Marine Corps. The Choctaw Detachment of the Marine Corps League in Baton Rouge has put together a number of events to celebrate that. In order to talk about those events, we're bringing in Todd Messina from the Marine Corps League in studio with us. Todd, welcome. How are you, man?
I'm doing outstanding.
Glad to have you in this morning. I appreciate you getting up early on a morning after election day. It's never easy when returns are coming in until after midnight.
Oh, I'm a Marine. We always get up early, so
I feel like I put that one on the tee.
I did more before 6 a.m. than you did.
That's exactly what. I don't know about that. All right, no, but in general, yes, that's the rules. So kind of put that one on a tee for you. All right, what's going on this week?
Well, everybody talks about Veterans Day, but because of the city of Baton Rouge and its surrounding areas, we have what's called a Veterans Week.
Mm-hmm.
They keep us very busy, and sometimes we're heading in two different directions, and I have to split my team up.
Okay.
Like on the Thursday coming up tomorrow, we're going to the Veterans Home, and we deliver twice a year over $3,000 worth of supplies above and beyond what the Veterans Administration gives to them, like T-shirts and socks and underwear, toothpaste, shampoo, just to bless all the veterans there.
Mm-hmm.
Friday, we're going to be serving coffee and donuts at the VA clinic like we do every Friday. But then some of us will be heading to the mayor's breakfast, Veterans Breakfast, at 9 in the morning at the Goodwood Library. And then we'll head to Holly Court Nursing Home at 2 o'clock, where we're blessing the veterans there.
Okay.
So Saturday, we travel to Walker. There's a veterans parade.
Yeah.
So we'll be there. That starts at 10 o'clock. Anybody's welcome to come. We go through the city of Walker, passing out. And look, y'all come. I'm throwing out the good candy, nice chocolate candy bars. Okay, so I know my car is going to have some good candy. Bring your kids. They love me.
Awesome.
On Sunday, which is the Marine Corps birthday, we have several events going on. Starting off at 9:30 a.m., some of the Marines will be at St. Alphonsus Catholic Church where they do a veterans event there.
Okay.
I'll be heading to St. Francisville at Grace Episcopal Cemetery on the Marine Corps birthday. Across the country, all the Marine Corps lays wreaths on the commandants of the Marine Corps.
Okay.
General Burroughs actually is from St. Francisville. He wanted to be buried in the state, so therefore the Marines come there to do that ceremony, and every year we're there.
I'm sorry, General Barrows?
Yes, sir. He's actually one of the commandants of the Marine Corps.
Okay.
We actually have two of them in the state of Louisiana. General Lejeune is from New Roads, and General Barrows is actually from St. Francisville.
Gotcha. Okay.
So actually that bridge that got built, we tried to name it after both of them, but the bridge is named after somebody else, but both thoroughways are named after those generals.
But that's amazing. We got two generals, and we named it after a guy who painted birds.
I didn't have to say so.
Sorry, that was so demeaning. John J. Audubon was pivotal in Louisiana's history for sure. When looked at side by side, that was might have been a better option on the table. Let's just say
we brought it to their attention, but that's all right. At least we got the thoroughways named after them, and to continue to keep their names remembered forever.
Mm-hmm.
At 11:30, when we get done with General Barrow's grave site, we head to Port Hudson National Cemetery, and we do a little ceremony for all the Marines that are passed away that are buried in that cemetery.
Right.
Then later that evening, we do our own Marine Corps Ball celebration. We're going to be from 5 to 7 at Mockler Beverage. Mr. Mockler used to be a Marine and in our league, and we'll be in the slattery room on the second floor doing a cake cutting, free refreshments, everything for all Marines that want to come.
Okay. All right. That is a full slate of events. Is that all of them? I mean, it takes us all the way through Sunday.
Yes, it does. And I didn't mention, like I said, that me and Frank Muscarella, who is the past commandant, I'm the commandant for right now, He was the past who I just took over for.
Mm-hmm.
Me and him are hitting other TV and radio stations. Those aren't even on our schedule.
We got Todd Messina in with us from the Marine Corps League for just a couple more minutes, talking about the events going on for Veterans Week. Todd, I want to pivot over and where you mentioned the supply drive. That one's the first one out the blocks, right? The supplies that y'all are delivering. Where are those collected, and do people still have a chance to contribute? If not to this one, then the next one.
They can contribute if they want to. They can either donate money to us. They can reach us at mclbatonrouge.org, or they can, that's the best way to reach us.
Mm-hmm.
My number is actually on there. You can hit the website, call me up directly. I'll come get it from you. Okay?
mclbatonrouge.org?
mclbatonrouge.org.
Gotcha.
And we do it every year, so we're constantly getting this stuff. But we go to Walmart a few days before and buy the supplies ourselves.
Right.
So anybody that wants to do above and beyond that, if you even want to ask us what they want, we always get a list every year of what they're looking for to try to bless these veterans out.
And following the list is important. It's nice to donate things, but donating something that's not needed, it doesn't help anybody. Which
Correct.
Brings me around to, if folks did want to help out, I would assume a cash donation would be better than a pack of T-shirts.
It is. I don't want to ask for cash, but the cash comes in handy where we can actually get the items that are needed better than giving them, like I always say, I'm bald, and giving me shampoo is just a waste of money.
We got Todd Messina in with us for another minute and a half or so. Todd, I want to pivot over to outside of Marine Corps Week. How active is the Marine Corps League in Baton Rouge?
Well, we're very, very active. We do from Baton Rouge Soldier Outreach, where we field packages for military people overseas, volunteering at St. Vincent de Paul to feed the homeless, to one of the things that I love the most, not that I love it, but we honor every Marine brother and sister that passes away. We're there at the funeral to do a ceremony for them, to make sure that their family makes sure that their significant other's life was very important to us.
He is Todd Messina with the Marine Corps League, mclbatonrouge.org. If you wanted to help out with any of the future drives, it's already in the bank for this one, for this week, as they got a full slate of events. I assume all the events are on the website as well?
Yes, they should be.
Okay.
And we even participate with Toys for Tots with the Marine Corps Reserve.
mclbatonrouge.org. One more time for that website. He's Todd Messina. Thank you so much for stopping in this morning.
Thank you so much for having me, Brian.
I appreciate it. We're coming up on 7 o'clock at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. We are nowhere near done yet. We got 2 more hours to go. Next hour, however, a little bit of a pivot. Let's start to talk about the special session.
Thank you so much.
All right. I appreciate it.
Yep. I was a recruiter for a while, so they had us videotape and talk and do other stuff like that.
Yeah.
So some people say I'm more comfortable behind the mic than others. It's because if you ever watch yourself on a video and have to critique yourself.
It's humbling. It's humbling. The number of mistakes you can make just out of nowhere. Stuff you never saw coming.
And once it gets on video, it can't,
Oh, no, that's forever.
it's forever. It used to be what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Now what happens in Vegas ends up on YouTube.
Well, yeah. It's that, on the radio, it was over the air, and if you missed it, you missed it. But now, I mean,
They can retake it, look over it for years to come.
every day.
Every day.
Thank you.
We heading across the street now to go.
AFB?
Yeah.
Cool.
Frank's over at Fox, and he's going to meet with me, and then we go do that one together.
Okay.
Like I said, I appreciate all that y'all do. And the more word we get out, the more we're trying to make sure people realize who we are too. Because when I got out, I was the first sergeant, 23 years in. American Legion showed up, EFW showed up because we just came back from combat.
Yeah.
And I never heard of the Marine Corps League. So some lady saw me in a Marine shirt and said, "Hey, I'm working with the Young Marines." I said, "What's Young Marines?" Kids from 8 to 18, drug demand reduction program. She said, "We need your help." So I called her back when I got hired at Exxon. I said, "Look, I got time now. I'm off every other weekend." She said, "We'll set our drill up to when you're off." I said, "Perfect." She said, "Well, the Marine Corps League helps us out." Who's the Marine Corps League? So she told me, my group went, and when I talked to them, I said, "Look, if we're going to ask them for money,"
Yeah.
I said, "we all need to join." And I joined 22 years ago, and I'm still there today.
That's awesome.
So it's
Yeah, I mean, I've known them my whole life, so. Really? Cool.
Only Eagle Scouts can get it, and it has to be administered by the Marine Corps League.
Okay.
So I got Eagle Scouts that like know who we are just because of what we do for them.
Very nice.
Y'all take care.
Incredible.
You too.
Thank you for letting me in.
Of course. Yeah. Sorry about the wait.
That's all right. Have a good one.
You too. Andy says he already offended her by running. Okay. It might not appear so, but Sharon's got thicker skin than that. Yes, that's going to be the public appearance, but she's a pro. Oh, God. Meanwhile, I've got 400 emails to delete. Because every time there's a news advisory, like another state was called, every time another state was called last night, CBS alert, ABC alert, Bloomberg alert. Oh, crap. Undo that. .705 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Hour 2 coming your way right now. Brian here with you. John LaBeouf producing, starting off at 74 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. We got a busy second hour for you. We're going to have Congressman Garret Graves on with us at 7:35. Little DC Current presented by LABI, the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. You can learn more about them. They are your state's Chamber of Commerce. Learn more about them at labi.org. Before Congressman Graves, coming up in our next segment at 7:15, State Representative Mike Bayham. He's on the Ways and Means Committee. He's got an inside look at what's going to be going down with the upcoming the special session on tax reform, which actually gets underway today. So, we're not done breaking down the election, but we do have to pivot because there's news that's happening there as well. So we'll get into all that as the hour wears on. Right now, top stories and trending.
Number 5.
7 a.m. numbers are out, and Hurricane Rafael is holding at 100-mile-per-hour winds. It's still in the Caribbean, expected to hit western Cuba late tonight into, by tomorrow morning, early tomorrow morning. The center of the storm should be in the Gulf of Mexico. Rafael is expected to maintain hurricane strength for a few days, just floating around the Gulf of Mexico, just kind of aimlessly. As of right now, it's looking like it's projected west of us, but it's moving northwest at 14 miles per hour right now, but it's going to slow down to next to nothing. So I'm not comfortable making projections that far out, right? The National Hurricane Center shows it still being in the Gulf of Mexico 1 a.m. Monday as a tropical storm. So the National Hurricane Center shows it not fully dissipating, but definitely weakening. What's that mean for us here? Well, if anybody had questions about football this weekend, you can remove those questions, whether you're talking Friday night for high school or Saturday for LSU versus Alabama. The storm's slowing down is going to help out on that front.
Number 4.
And Louisiana voters approved a proposed amendment to the state's constitution that will see federal revenue from coastal renewable energy production be placed into a coastal protection and restoration fund as opposed to the state's general fund. Under the current law, the CPRA receives oil and gas money from sources at the state and federal levels. This amendment adds the revenue from alternative energy, which we don't earn yet, but anything from a wind farm, a solar farm, anything like that that's built out offshore, this would go over to the CPRA.
Number 3.
Voters in East Baton Rouge Parish approved a pair of tax renewals funding the local park system amid questions about the agency's financing, although some of those questions were answered from other members of the board. There was a proposal to change the way the city parish government operates. That was defeated pretty soundly, and voters within Baton Rouge city limits approved a $6 million property tax to support firefighter pay. That was an overwhelming victory, like a 2-to-1 victory when it was all said and done. Getting back to Brecht, though, they sought the renewal of property taxes to bring in about $50 million annually. These taxes allow for the acquisition and operation of public parks and their various programs. The local park system in 2022 was recognized as the best large city park system by the American Academy for Park and Recreation Administration. This was a nod towards Imagine Your Parks 3.
Number 2.
Darrell Hurst, Twana Harris, Carolyn Coleman, and Lori Adams all won their Metro Council races outright last night. Eugene Collins is going to take on Anthony Kenny in a runoff in the 2nd Council District. Brandon Knoll and Eric Smith Sr. are going to duke it out over in District 1. So that gives us 6 different Metro Council races last night. The other 6 seats were all unopposed.
Number 1.
It'll be Sid Edwards versus incumbent Sharon Weston Broom in the runoff for mayor president in East Baton Rouge Parish. Edwards was the leading vote getter yesterday with 64,862 votes, or 34%. Mayor Broom picked up 58,843 for 31%. Ted James ended up in third with over 53,000 votes. He got 28% of the vote. So already looking ahead to the runoff, what would it take to get Sid versus Sharon over the finish line? Well, this is going to come down a lot to Ted James's vote, or votes that went to Ted James. Because if you're Sid Edwards and you look at the rest of the Republican candidates that were on the ballot, you're only amassing 4% more, bringing you up to 38. So you still need 12% and a little bit of change in order to get you over that 50+1. If you're Sharon Weston Broom, you need even more help because the Democrats on the ballot didn't garner a whole lot of support outside of Sharon Weston Broom and Ted James. Now, if you get all of Ted James, boom, game over with if you're Sharon Weston Broom. But if you're looking at those lesser-known candidates, you had Ryan Bad Business Carter got 1%, and William Champagne Roundtree as an independent got 656 votes, amounting to 0%. But there are, a handful of votes there as well. So Mayor Broom is going to need Ted James pretty handily in this runoff.
Well, is there anything trending that isn't the presidential race this morning?
Man, you know what? Red Bull needs to be trending this morning.
Yes,
I love my community coffee, John.
Yeah.
I might need some wings on top of it.
Coffee was great this morning, by the way.
Thank you.
Do you make it?
Yeah, I make the coffee every morning. I'm the first one in the building. I make the coffee every morning. Every once in a while, I'll reach for that community pecan praline.
Okay, that's
as opposed to the breakfast blend.
Yeah,
different vibe.
Good stuff.
Needed.
Absolutely. Oh man, long night. Victories yesterday by Jim Justice in West Virginia and Bernie Moreno in Ohio gave Republicans control of the Senate.
You got the presidency. You got the Senate. Do you have the House? No, probably not. But it's a starting ground. It's a starting ground towards pushing forth an agenda that, as long as it stays conservative, should move conservatively. That would be the want there, wouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. In other news, former NFL star turned broadcaster and minority owner Tom Brady will not face any punishment from the NFL for his criticisms of referees during a recent game between the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions, according to multiple reports.
So that's good. You shouldn't put a guy in the booth to do the game if he's going to be hamstrung with what he's allowed to say.
Yeah.
I know. So do you want to lose Tom Brady's name on the broadcast, or do you want to lose Tom Brady's name as a part owner?
Hands are kind of tied right here. Yeah.
Anyway. Before we take our break here, we're going to talk with Mike Bayham in our next segment. Can I take one more second? Just as a recap on the election. Play nice today, please, everybody. Both sides of the aisle. We're going to do a segment coming up at the end of the hour that I think it kind of typifies where our nation is right now. And we're going to talk a little bit about the division that we have in this country. But this got heated. There was, you know what, flung back and forth all over the place. To start off your morning, don't spike the football. Hand it to the referee and go back to the sideline. Act like you've played the game before. We'll get to all that later on. Quick break. Mike Bayham's up next.
Wayne says EBR, where you get someone with the nickname Bad Business running, and they still get 1% of the vote.
Bad Business has some good ideas. Yeah. No, if you actually listen to him, Bad Business has some good ideas. Yeah. He got to take part in a couple of those forums, and the ones that he was in, he made sense. I mean, he's a Democrat, or an independent, but...
But you think with a name like Bad Business, you think people just turn you off the minute they hear your name?
Immediately.
Yeah.
Although in Louisiana, and we didn't do a big thing on this last night, and I normally do, in Louisiana, nicknames are not a problem.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
A guy named Frog was elected to a city council a couple years ago.
And most of the time, that's literally how people are known. Like, certain people don't even know their real names.
Can you call Bayham?
Yeah, absolutely.
.716, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Looking to connect with Mike Bayham here to talk about the upcoming special session on tax reform, which actually gets underway today. While we have a quick minute before we get Mike on, got to tell you about the folks over at Vex European. Check them out online at vexeuropean.com. Who needs Vex European? Anybody who drives a European vehicle. If you drive a Mercedes, a BMW, a Jaguar, a Land Rover, a Volvo. In fact, if you go to vexeuropean.com, hit the little drop-down menu on vehicles, you'll see everything that they service and everything that they service well. Expert level master technicians. They specialize in European vehicles, and you're going to get a tech who knows your vehicle, a tech who is certified for your make of vehicle. So I've got a 16-year-old car. It needs a little 10 or 11 care. I need to make sure that the people under my hood know what they're doing. And that's why I go to Vex European. The other reason, it's not just the level of expertise, but the level of convenience. When you hop on vexeuropean.com, you're making same-day or next-day appointments. You don't have to wait around a couple weeks for just regular service. Check them out online at vexeuropean.com. Not just for the big jobs. Let them get to know your car inside and out. Same way your doctor knows you, Vex European wants to know your car. Check them out at vexeuropean.com. All right, special session on tax reform opens today. State Representative Mike Bayham knows a thing or two about that. Mike, I appreciate you hopping on so early the morning after the elections.
Good morning, Brian. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Before we get into the special session on tax reform, I have to ask you a question about your last appearance on the show.
Yeah.
Were you on vacation? So
I don't know.
you hopped on the show, and then I was looking at your Facebook page later on in the day, and it's all these pictures of giant trees and whatnot. And I'm like, did Mike Bayham call in from his vacation to do an update?
No, I don't. I think I did visit Big Sequoia National Park.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that was the case. Yeah.
All right. Well, so it would have been 2 hours earlier for you. So I can't tell you how much I appreciate that, man. You could have told me to kick rocks.
No. I needed to be up early because I wanted to go out there and take advantage. Sequoia is a wonderful park, and the drive there is beautiful, and the trees are absolutely magnificent. They're some of the biggest trees in the world.
Yeah.
And it's a lot prettier to look at than the pine trees we see along the interstate. So
Fair. That's
I'm
fair.
a Republican who does appreciate trees, and these are ancient, giant trees and sequoias, and it was a wonderful trip, and I'd been wanting to do that for a good bit of my adult life, and that was really enjoyable.
Teddy Roosevelt would be proud.
Well, I've got a campaign poster from 1920 with Teddy Roosevelt right in my office, not far from my desk.
Unbelievable. So, Mike, in my office, I have it's not a campaign poster, it's just a print. But every on my little Twitter update video every night, you got Teddy Roosevelt right there over my left shoulder. So, kindred spirit.
I've got Winston Churchill and Ronald Reagan over mine.
There. Oh, see, pulling up a dream team right there. All right, let's get down to business. Things get opened up today, if I'm not mistaken. What are we looking at in this special session? I want to start with like the whole call and then narrow down to what's really feasible.
Oh goodness. Well, the main call is to deal with tax reform and to address the state's budget issues, and that's going to be the heart of it. Now, as you can imagine, we've all been focused on what's going on with the elections, and some of us have been working very hard because we're going to be tied up with sessions, so we're trying to get our personal jobs in first before we go off to Baton Rouge for 2 weeks and focus almost exclusively on the session. But we have been engaged in a great deal of discussion on what's going to happen in terms of the impetus, the main part, which is the cutting the personal income tax. There are going to be some adjustments to business taxes in Louisiana. There's been some back and forth on that. One of the main concerns is that what happens when some of these business taxes, such as the inventory tax, what happens when they go away? Because you do have some parish governments, particularly along the river, where you've got refineries that are going to be impacted by that, because these inventory taxes provide a great deal of revenue that these local governments operate off of. And what happens when that revenue is gone? Where do you make that money back up at? And a lot of parishes, there's nowhere else to go to get that revenue, and we want to make sure that we pass something that makes us a healthier business climate to bring in people from around the country and even around the world to come do business in Louisiana, while also ensuring that we're not redistributing that tax burden from these billion-dollar companies onto working families in our communities.
Yeah, because the obvious trade-off there would be letting local municipalities handle their own through sales or property taxes individually, but a lot of these parishes,
you cannot possibly make that. You cannot possibly make that up.
Yeah, a lot of these parishes, especially along the river, where you're going to have like lower property values, an extreme amount of poverty up and down the river as well. So it's not a 1-to-1 equation, to be sure. Do we know where the conversation is going to head on that front then?
We are definitely ratcheting up the conversations with the fourth floor and the Department of Revenue, but we want to make sure that that we're not putting ourselves in a position where, we've lowered these taxes for business that are already here that probably aren't leaving. I mean, even though with Donald Trump's victory last night, you're not going to see a whole lot of oil refineries being built in this country. And these refineries, they utilize a lot of our infrastructure. Well, if we don't have the revenue that comes from that infrastructure to maintain, that industry to maintain the infrastructure, then you have a situation like we've had in, I believe, St. Martin Parish, where while an industry is doing great and it's generating revenue for the state, it's the local government that's having to bear that cost.
Yep.
And we don't want to be put in that position. And understand this, and this is something a lot of people, you can't have a simplistic view on this, but tax structure is just one of the factors why a business would come to Louisiana. There's confidence in the integrity of the officials. You know, political corruption has probably cost us a great deal of business over decades. A lot of people may have wanted to come to Louisiana as they saw a great opportunity, and then you had, let's be honest, Louisiana politicians haven't always exactly been very helpful in that area. You need a skilled workforce. You need to have good infrastructure. So, and the cost of business needs to be reasonable, which due to our insurance right now, that's been a big barrier. So it's not just a matter of cutting taxes and all of a sudden we're going to have all this business rushing in to our state. And we do need to do something to make our state more attractive. I think we're the only state in the Deep South that doesn't have a car manufacturing plant. And that's a shame because we've got great potential for a site for these auto manufacturers that you see in other states along the interstate.
Oh, yeah.
Mainly in the rural areas. And I mean, look, we have no shortage of land in North Louisiana or access with the interstate up there. But we also don't need to cut our nose to spot our face and really burden communities with existing industries to take a hit in order to bring something new somewhere else.
Yeah, and North Louisiana especially is hurting on the job front and has been for some time now.
In the population front.
Yep.
I mean, that's one of the areas where people are either moving from the north to the south or they're moving out of state. And I know Shreveport, you know, a lot of people in that Shreveport area have moved to Texas because of the better business environment and the lower cost of living.
Yep.
You know, the Monroe area, I think, is an area that's got great potential. And we certainly want to do what we can to attract major industry to our state because we're losing people. And that's something Secretary Nelson says all the time, and he's right. He likes to ask the trivia question, when's the last time Louisiana gained a congressional district? I think it was 1920, if I'm not mistaken.
Gained?
Secretary Nelson will...
Yeah.
What's that?
I said gained? I honestly couldn't tell you. The last time we gained
I think
one.
it's 1920.
Okay.
I think Secretary Nelson could certainly correct me because he likes to cite that whenever he gives a speech to civic organizations. But we used to have 8 congressmen. We're down to 6. At the rate we're going, we're almost going to certainly be down to 5 and lose one for 2030.
If things continue on the same trend, we will be down to 5. by 2030. Talking with State Representative Mike Bayham. Mike, I want to go back up to the top of the page with the income tax reform. Moving from 4.5% to 3%, this feels like it's got all the support in the world. What would the ramifications of that be on the state budget?
Well, remember, everything's connected. So we got to see what's going to happen with these service taxes that they're talking about implementing. Which ones where the cost of doing the collection may not provide us with much reward. Something I also want to be very sensitive about is creating a new burden of compliance for small businesses, because a lot of these services are done by small business, and well, they're not set up to collect sales tax and do the monthly filings and such. So we want to make sure that the juice is worth the squeeze is a phrase that's been thrown around a lot in our meetings. And as you can imagine, we've had a lot of representatives from these industries, small businesses, come up and say, look, I mean, I don't know what you're looking to get out of us, but you're going to create a very heavy cost on our small businesses in this field, and the revenue simply isn't going to be that great.
We've
On the contrary, you do have some businesses that are already set up for this.
Well, okay, but talking about the small businesses, and we got about a minute to go with State Representative Mike Bayham. Does that mean that the possibility of a centralized sales tax collection would be back on the table? I know it's already passed and then
Not
failed
this
at the vote.
session.
Okay. All right. Because
not this session.
To me, Mike, that
there
feels
is,
like one of the linchpins that could make things so much easier for so many other bills that y'all are trying to get through.
And I can tell you, centralized collection is something that I think would help burnish our attractiveness to these corporations looking to come to Louisiana.
Oh,
and
100%.
that's not happening. To my knowledge, that's not happening this session.
Okay. Well, I didn't know if there was still
it would
room
require a vote of the people. We almost got it done. It was almost accomplished, I believe, in 2021 or 2022.
2022.
It was 21, and it didn't happen. It didn't work.
It made it through both sides of the legislature and then failed at the voting booth. But it needs another push, because in order to see all of the things that y'all are trying to do, or a lot of the things that y'all are trying to do, this would make things infinitely easier for business.
And I think the dynamics that led to it being killed in 2021 is why it's not going to be taken up this year, maybe in a future year.
He is State Representative Mike Bayham getting back to work today. We appreciate a couple minutes this morning.
Sorry for the scratchy voice. You can imagine.
Hey, no. No apologies necessary. We all understand what last night was. Appreciate you, Mike.
Y'all have fun watching The View today.
Oh, God. Here's ABC News. Oh. Oh. I asked everybody to play nice, damn it.
Shots fired. Love it.
Oh. We might not have Garrett here. Shit.
Oh crap.
Yeah. Yep.
Clint says, "Don't spike the ball. Shoo, some friends of mine are doing the gritty in the end zone." I mean,
Can't make you be a good person.
dang.
Damn. Who is this?
So no Graves.
We're trying. All right, how's your forecast stacking up for the rest of the week on into Bama weekend? Here's the McCade Cowan. Debbie says, "Can we address this border?" Debbie, do you mean the border, like the southern border with Mexico, or do you mean the border around the Facebook page? Because it's a step towards things to come. Hey, grab 13, 14, and 15 right here.
What'd you say? I'm sorry.
13, 14, and 15, please.
Oh, okay.
737 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. We're supposed to have DC Current presented by LABI, the LABI, Louisiana Association of Business and Industry, your state's Chamber of Commerce. Check them out online at labi.org. That's supposed to be in this segment right here. Congressman Garret Graves is supposed to join us right here. However, the congressman's in Iowa right now. We're efforting. Let's just say that we're efforting to get him on, if we can, for any portion of this segment. We will love to have him, but we completely understand. Is the morning after election night? It was a long night, election night. Congressman Graves, obviously not being on the ballot here in Baton Rouge, was helping out with other races, and that has brought him to Iowa, where his people are trying to run him down right now. So, should we meet up with the congressman? We absolutely will, but we're not letting that stand in our way. Going to get you to a little more on results from last night and a little more on the session that is to come. Before that, though, got to remind you about the folks over at Parish Construction and Roofing. ParishBuilt.com is the website. ParishBuilt.com. 364-1007 is the phone number. One of the things, so at Parish Construction and Roofing, they like to say do business with someone you know. And I like to elaborate on that, because it means so much more. It's not just a tagline. Yeah, it's a catchy tagline. And yeah, a lot of folks know the owners. And a lot of folks know Matt Moscona and Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley and the rest of the crew they got over there. Do business with someone you know. That's one aspect of it. But what they leave out from the tagline, because it would just be too long of a tagline, is do business with someone you can call. Do business with someone you could text. Do business with someone who's going to answer your call and be there for you throughout the process. Getting a new roof up there involves many, many steps. Having an insurance adjuster come out, picking out the shingles, making sure that you're getting the right roof for your house, all the things. If you've got dormers, I got to learn firsthand about what that entails. And I got to do so with the greatest of ease because of Parish Construction and Roofing, because I'm doing business with someone I know. 364-1007 or parishbuilt.com. By the way, when you go to the website, check out the Fortified Roof Program. There very well could be money in this for you as far as grant dollars are concerned, in order to get you a fortified roof so that your home can better withstand a hurricane or hurricane-force winds. Started off at parishbuilt.com. All right. It's 7:40 at Talk 107.3 FM. Let's do this in reverse order. We'll go back to last night in a little bit. I want to start off this segment with the story you heard in our news at the bottom of the hour about the tax reform session, and we just got done talking with State Representative Mike Bayham about it. By the way, next hour, State Representative Jack McFarland, also on the tax session, and Daniel Erspamer from the Pelican Institute, also on the tax session. But you heard audio there from Revenue Secretary Richard Nelson. You heard a soundbite right there from Richard Nelson. I want to play that soundbite back again, because he's talking about how, in order to make up for some of the lost tax revenue, the state would have to broaden the state's sales tax, cut 13.
We want to broaden the base of the sales tax, really modernize it to capture some things that we're not doing right now. We want to simplify the sales tax code by getting rid of a lot of exemptions. We have almost 225 sales tax exemptions. We'd like to wipe out a lot of those.
I want to ask this question. Are we putting the cart before the horse? Are we putting our cuts before the budget cuts? Mull that for a second while we continue on. Nelson says that there's a lot of services that currently aren't taxed that would be taxed. For example, dog grooming.
A lot of the people
no. For example, dog grooming, landscaping, storage. No, I nodded. Sorry, y'all. If you're watching on Facebook, you saw me give the nod. I wasn't cueing John. I was just nodding. He didn't jump the gun. That was on me. Where am I? Oh, a lot of services that aren't currently taxed would be taxed. Dog grooming's in that mix. Landscaping would be in that mix. Storage services would be in that mix. I've got to ask the question, for a lot of the services that are going to end up taxed, how many of these do you think are done on a cash basis right now? Are we really looking at, okay, so I've got somebody that cuts my lawn. All right? Call it what it is. My allergies act up every time I cut the grass, and at a certain point I said, I'm not fighting it anymore. I'm gonna hire somebody who could do it better, and I'll just go ahead and not have to deal with the stopped up the stopped up nose and the cough and the red eyes and all of it. I'll just pay someone to do it for me. Now, if that's going to be taxed, wouldn't it behoove me to pull that off the books and move it over to a cash operation? Wouldn't it behoove me to keep things out of the eye of Uncle Sam? Or I guess in this, since we're talking about the state, call him Uncle Huey? Whether you're talking about landscaping, storage services seems pretty straightforward. There's going to be contracts involved there. Dog grooming, who the hell knows? I don't think we're counting on a whole lot of tax revenue to come from that. But Nelson says this much-needed tax reform is going to put more money in people's pockets and make the state more competitive in attracting businesses.
A lot of the people see the benefit of having those lower income tax rates as making the state more competitive and benefiting them personally. So I think there is a pretty significant benefit to everybody.
On the income tax front, to be sure. That's not on the sales and services front. But, man, I can't help but walk with caution, to be sure, that if you're going to start taxing things that haven't been taxed in the past, what it's going to encourage is an off-the-books economy. By the way, a number of critics of the plan are concerned that the plan will lead to higher taxes for lower-income residents and a big tax cut for the wealthy. This is simultaneously true and not true. Hard numbers-wise, it's not an increase for poorer people. But for percentage of their income, an increase in sales tax is regressive because it takes a bigger percent. Like if you earn $30,000 a year, any increase in sales tax is going to affect you greater than someone earning $100,000 a year. The richer person can just absorb it more. But that's true of every form of taxation. Along with that, though, Nelson says there's a number of carve-outs like eliminating taxes on prescription drugs. Things like that can help the poor along the way in order to not eat up their budget. In fact, Nelson says when it comes to the prescription drugs, Louisiana is one of only a few states that have a tax.
Trade-off for that is we're going to basically tax car washes and dog grooming. I think people would rather pay a tax on their car washes and dog grooming versus their medicine.
100%. Absolutely. Here are my concerns going into the session. Number one, if we are establishing cuts to make our tax burden individually lower, are we not at the same time establishing other taxes to make sure that revenue doesn't fall off? And if we are, is that not just a shell game? My concern is if we're looking to make taxes lower for everybody, shouldn't we be looking to squeeze the state budget a little bit and give everyone over at every dollar that comes through the state capitol a haircut to say, we're going to charge you less as a populace, but we're going to spend less as a government? And the rub there is, if you want to do that, what you have to do, it has to be done constitutionally, which means an amendment on the ballot come March, which is why they're holding the session now. But I have a concern that we're putting the cart before the horse by handling all the tax cuts on the front end and leaving the budget cuts up to the people later on, where we could very well see a scenario where we meaning the legislature, because we are a representative republic, where the legislature rolls in, trims down the income tax, trims down the inventory tax, takes care of a whole lot of things on the tax cut front, and now we're looking at a potential loss of revenue. You fast forward to March when they have the special election, and the public rejects the potential to change things up for the cuts, because every one of those cuts, there's going to be a special interest attached to it that says, no, these are my dollars, let someone else's dollars go. And when it all comes down to it, everyone's going to protect theirs. What's the old saying? The definition of pork is government spending that doesn't come back to your district. I worry that we're going to see that. We'll see it start to play. But that being said, man, so many of the plans that they've got, so many of the things they want to do are bold and could push this state forward. Very well could push this state forward if we get it all on the back end without it just being a shell game. It is 7:47 at Talk 107.3 FM. We've been talking a lot about the election last night, and we're going to talk about the presidential election in our next segment. There's a couple of numbers that I hadn't gone over yet that I would like to. We got 2 minutes left. Yeah, we got 2 minutes left. Can I start off by saying, good job, Baton Rouge, on the 6 mills. The 6 mills that was described as City of Baton Rouge, 6 mills, MC, 10 years. That was what was in the description line on your ballot. It's an awful way to say giving first responders, specifically firefighters, the first raise that they've asked for in over 20 years. Baton Rouge went to the polls and resoundingly said, yes, we support our firefighters. And look, it is a rare, rare day where I will come out and say something one way or the other about a particular issue on the ballot. For example, I talk about Breck every day on the show. And at no point did I say whether or not someone should vote for the Breck taxes. By the way, both of them passed. One of them more overwhelmingly than the other one. But while I won't often endorse, because I just don't do the endorsement thing. When it came to our firefighters, this is one that I didn't hesitate. Our firefighters were paid well below the regional average, and they don't often come out hat in hand. But they did for this one. And by a 68 to 32 vote, Baton Rouge stood up for their firefighters, and I personally appreciate it. The other issue that I want to look at that we haven't really talked about a whole lot is that home rule charter amendment. This was our city parish, our Metro Council, putting forth the opportunity to refine and revamp a number of the way we do things here in East Baton Rouge Parish. And they had a ton of really good ideas in there. But it was 47 items combined into one issue, and it ended up getting punted. So the Metro Council's got homework to do to break this down issue by issue to move things forward. It's 7:50. Here's your money now. Oh, look, I only got like 17 texts in that segment. Oh, I got an interview coming up after the show. I forgot to put it down.
What the?
Yeah, that's on me. $9:20. Senior political correspondent for The Hill. Oh.
Any clips on this then? I could vibe to this all day. I love this song. $7:56 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. We're gonna have hour 3 coming your way in a little bit. Hour 3 continues to focus on the upcoming. By upcoming, I mean today special session on tax reform. State Representative Jack McFarland going to join us at 8:15. Daniel Erspamer from the Pelican Institute at 8:35. And I guess it goes without saying it's difficult to do a focused show the morning after a presidential election. You heard Mike Bayham fight through it earlier this hour. Everybody was up late last night, y'all. Bayham fought through it. We tried to get Congressman Graves on for D.C. Current. Congressman Graves was in Iowa. So, I mean, it's a rough morning. I appreciate y'all sticking it out. In this segment, I wanted to talk a little bit about the presidential election, and I don't know how to do this without being Pollyanna or sounding holier than thou. But I want to ask that everybody just be nice. Is that so hard? Act like you've been there. If you're on the right, and I am a Republican as well. If you're on the right, a whole lot of people
just had their dreams squashed. If your inclination is to spike the football, to drink their tears, man, you need to check yourself. Donald Trump won the presidency back last night. That should be enough. Dancing on someone else's broken dreams should not enter the equation. I'm going to tell you why. Because when you do that, you are proving what they said about you in the campaign. If you do that, I'm scrolling through Facebook this morning before the show started. And I mean, post after post from my friends who are on the left. I've never been more disappointed to be an American than I am today. Well, sadly, you've posted that same thing numerous times over the last 8 years, but nonetheless. I'm seeing, I thank God that I don't have children to be brought up in a nation run by Donald Trump. It's just, there's a lot of hurt and a lot of butt hurt. So what I'm asking of my fellow Republicans is, be the bigger person, be the better party. Don't dance on someone's broken dreams. Just get out there, do your thing. Wake up knowing that you're not better off today than you were 4 years ago, and you've taken the step on the road towards fixing that. That should be enough. Here comes news. Hour 3 is next. Of course, when I went to refresh, all I could get in my damn feed was conservative friends.
Well, yeah. That's how the old algorithm works. Yeah. Be about right. Okay.
We got somebody from Wild Soul Salsa coming on at 8:05.
Okay.
And then Rocco comes in after that. So I want to do a live taste test while the guy's on.
Nice. Cool.
Oh, yeah, I was supposed to get something off the printer during the break as well. I suck. Ooh. I am now. Dang. 806 Talk 1073 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldan, rolling right along. Hour 3 coming your way right now. A deep dive into the legislative session, the special session that opens today. We're talking tax reform this hour. State Representative Jack McFarland slated to join us coming up at 8:15, and then Daniel Erspamer from the Pelican Institute at 8:35. Both of whom I assume are going to be dog tired because they were up late last night because of the presidential election. Which, by the way, John, did you stay up until it was called?
Can I just be honest? No.
Well, I would want you to be honest.
I didn't. No.
Like, honesty always.
I was dead tired.
Yeah.
Because I got a second job after this. And
Yeah.
I didn't get off till like 7:30.
Yeah.
So that's like, for me, a 14-hour day.
Yeah.
So I was dead tired, man.
I know. I understand.
So, like,
and
I
here's
still
the
didn't
thing,
go to bed till like 11 o'clock.
So you missed it by about an hour and a half.
Yeah. So, dead tired. Man.
So I was in that zombie state.
But woke up about 4 o'clock to the news, and I'm like,
Yep.
okay.
Well, here's the thing. Whether you sleep or not, you have no bearing over it. So why not sleep?
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
It's not going to, like, you're being awake and glued to it like a moth to the flame
Now,
is not going to change the outcome.
Now, I did say that. I will say this, though. I mean, I did have a little bit of anxiety on sleep.
Yeah.
Over just because I was so tired, but at the same time, it's like, I know I'm missing it. I really need to be paying attention to this. But no, waking up at 4 o'clock to
But you wake up at 4 and
the
there it is.
and it's like, okay, here we are.
By the way, and this stays between us. Don't let this get out.
Oh, okay. Just between us?
When I got home last night and I set my alarm, I accidentally set it for 3:45 p.m.
Ooh.
Yeah, I woke up at 4:15, just like naturally.
Oh yeah.
No alarm, no nothing. And I'm like, I am so late. That's after doing cover. We did 8 to 10 last night.
Yeah.
So.
That's
Whew.
yeah. Oof.
Yeah. Oh, we gotta get to.
Don't know how you're doing it.
We got to get to this day in history in just a second. I do need to remind you about the folks over at Mathern's. The new deals of the week are out as they are every Wednesday. And this week it's the folks over at Big Easy Foods. Big Easy Shrimp. 1 pound bag of Big Easy Shrimp is $2.99 all week long. It's basically $1 savings per pound at Mathern's if you've got the app. You just add it to your card right there, along with all the other savings that they offer up every single week, whether you're talking about, saving $1 on a bag of Food Club rice or saving $1 on Food Club apple juice or saving $1 on the Mathern's 24-pack of water. Whatever it is you're throwing into your grocery cart, if you're saving $1 here, $1 there, it starts to add up eventually, and you're earning cash towards more groceries every time you shop. When you use the Mathern's Rewards app, you open up the app, you hit the little scan card in the upper right-hand corner, cashier scans your card. It does all the math for you, takes care of it. As it stands right now, I'm sitting on 11,000 points and change that I probably should use. Give me a free lunch or something with that. But you're earning cash towards more groceries every time you shop at Mathern's, either location, downtown on 3rd Street or in the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center. It's Mathern's. Time for this day in history. Let's roll. Boop, 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 boop. Boop, 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 boop. All right, what happened?
Of course,
What happened?
it's election heavy.
Well, yeah.
This day in history.
Yeah.
So, and I couldn't give, favor to one side or the other. So
Go for it.
we might be here for a while. No, 1860. Let's start there, where Abraham Lincoln is elected the 16th president of the United States today. 1860. 1861. Jefferson Davis elected to a 6-year term as U.S. Confederate president.
Yeah. Wow. I really don't want to make these comparisons here.
I know.
I mean, Abraham Lincoln elected and the nation splits in half. And I mean, then it split over Lincoln.
Yeah.
But
it's history. It's history. 1888. Benjamin Harris is selected U.S. president, defeating
Harrison.
sitting president Harrison.
Yeah, not just Harris. Harris' son.
I thought I said Harrison.
Oh, okay.
Still, I don't know.
Dude, I've had like 5 of them this morning, so you're still 3 better.
Oh man, defeating sitting president Grover Cleveland. So yeah, 1900. Let's see, U.S. President William McKinley and his Vice President Theodore Roosevelt defeat Democrat William Jennings Bryan.
Okay,
Bryan. Let's see, 1917 here. New York State adopts a constitutional amendment giving women the right to vote in state elections.
Awesome.
Come a long way since then, right?
Yep.
1928, Republican candidate Herbert Hoover is elected president of the U.S., defeating Democrat candidate Al Smith. 1940, Franklin D. Roosevelt reelected as U.S. president. 1956, Dwight D. Eisenhower is reelected president as well.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say, here you go, Brian. 1961, this isn't president related. So U.S. government issues a stamp honoring the 100th birthday of James Naismith, who invented the game of basketball.
Yes.
And is currently Canadian. They put that in there. I guess.
It said is currently Canadian?
And is actually Canadian.
Oh, okay. I was going to say is currently Canadian.
He's currently Canadian.
The greatest game ever invented was invented by a Canadian. That's amazing. I don't understand it.
Yeah. 1984, Ronald Reagan is reelected as president. 2012, Barack Obama is reelected as president. And 2018, in U.S. midterm elections, Democrats retake control of the House of Representatives.
Yep.
After 8 years, the Senate is held by Republicans.
All right.
Anything else?
It was on this day in 1995 that Art Modell, owner of the Cleveland Browns, announced he was moving his team to Baltimore, where they would become the Ravens.
Yep.
Took a few years before Cleveland got another team again. But, yeah, that happened on this day. That was the only other one I had.
Oh, okay. Yeah, moving on to birthdays here. Got Ethan Hawke here.
Okay.
Lamar Odom.
Okay.
Actress Sally Fields.
Okay.
Emma Stone.
Okay. Ooh, okay.
And probably one of your, someone you may know, Sal from Impractical Jokers.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool. All right.
Yep.
Well, it's also James Naismith's birthday.
Oh, okay.
So there's that one as well.
Yeah.
And let's see, Maria Shriver was born on this day. We had, goodness gracious, there were more. I had more. I really hate the website that I go to for this one. I wish we could switch websites to make you sound like the disorganized one instead of me sounding like the disorganized one. I'm just kidding. All right, yeah, you had Emma Stone, right?
Yep.
All right, I got these last two to squeeze in here. Nope, you had them both. You had Lamar Odom in there. Okay, no, never mind. We got everybody.
What about notable deaths for you? Slow Dan deaths for me.
So
I've got one.
Who you got?
Jack Hartman.
Okay. Tchaikovsky.
Hey.
Yeah, Russian composer. Tchaikovsky died on this day in 1893. And that was really all I had.
Yeah, as far as national days go, Stress Awareness Day.
I got Nachos Day.
That's another one I had.
I'm rolling with nachos.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm always down for some nachos.
More nachos equals less stress, right?
Yeah, until you step on a scale.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
You don't need that kind of negativity in your life.
Just saying.
Just don't do it.
It's not negative, it's just real.
I've been sad, but I've never been sad inside of a Mexican restaurant.
That's also true. It's the combination of the food and the music, by the way.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, when you eat Mexican food, do you do a little dance? I do a little dance, like in my seat, like a little happy dance.
Every time.
I
got no rhythm, but
I don't ever. Well, but you don't need rhythm. You just sit there in your seat. Like
someone might think I'm like stroking out or something.
Yeah,
maybe like seizuring out. But that's me. It's just dancing.
That's what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah,
that's what it's supposed to look like. All right, it's 8:14. Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Quick break. When we come back, State Representative Jack McFarland joins us next. Oh, snap. Oh. Oh.
Yeah.
Hey, is Eric in the house this morning?
I haven't seen Eric.
Because here's why. Before the show started, as I was scrolling through Facebook, I saw Eric made a post about some dude in Pennsylvania who got like almost 200,000 Amish people to register to vote, and they all voted for Trump.
No way. No way. Is that real?
I'm done. I don't know. I don't know. I hope it's real.
I want it to be real.
But
so bad.
same.
I want it to be real.
I mean, if it's
I
not
wanna
real, it's
believe.
hilarious. If it is real,
Oh.
it's more hilarious.
Yeah. I want to believe. That is.
Put that
is funny.
MFR on a stamp.
Yeah. Yeah. Behind from those Amish like communes or whatever, you see a Trump flag flying.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Oh, that's so good.
It's 8:19 to Talk 107.3. It's 8:18 to Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP Mornings with Brian Haldane. Rolling right along. All right, elections in the rear view. No, we're not done completely breaking it down, but we're going to push pause for a little while as we talk about what is to come. And that is the special session on tax reform that actually gets underway today. Joining us now is State Representative Jack McFarland. Representative McFarland, welcome back. How are you, man?
I'm doing well this morning, Brian. Stayed up to 120 this morning to watch the results come in, and excited. I think we've got a great opportunity right here in America, but more importantly, right here in Louisiana. Oh, I think it's early happy birthday, but I want to make sure I get that in to you.
Early happy birthday for
you. I think you have a birthday this week.
Coming up Saturday. Yes, sir, and thank you for that. Absolutely. It is a number of opportunities opening up for Louisiana. Let's talk about that for just a second before we get into the special session, because the last time Donald Trump was in office, it was good for Louisiana. I mean, not just on a business front, but on an access front. The number of Louisianans that were in the Trump White House was remarkable.
It was, and you've seen Louisiana flourish during his administration, so I would expect that same thing to happen. Look, we see the possibilities now having a Speaker of the House with Mike Johnson. The individuals that have the potential or the opportunity to serve in his administration I just think that the opportunities for Louisiana individually are significant right now. The relationship the governor of Louisiana, Jeff Landry, has with the Trump administration, I think is significant. We have this opportunity. You see the amendments that were passed yesterday in Louisiana for the oil and gas revenues to be dedicated to our coastal areas. So I just think that we have a great opportunity to flourish again under this administration.
And y'all are getting to work today to help streamline that, if you will, via a little tax reform. Tell me what's on your agenda for this special session.
Look, Brian, I have answered this question several times this week with reporters. Everybody wants to break down individual bills, and I'm not doing that. I mean, obviously each bill works independently, but they are all also dependent upon the other measures. I think that we have to take a holistic approach and not look at this thing in a vacuum or in a silo where, well, this bill's going to do this. And, you know, I understand that. But as a collective approach, I think Louisiana stands at the forefront of an opportunity to significantly change our economy. We talk about this. We've had multiple task force since I've been in the legislature for 9 years, talking about and reviewing and discussing in panel after panel how we can transform Louisiana's tax structure. Now we have that opportunity. Look, we didn't just do it under the past 9 years. These tax force were meeting even under the Jindal administration, even during the Mike Foster administration. So many of these proposals we just never could put together, get them across the finish line. You know, look, I appreciate the governor coming out and saying, hey, I want to take this bold approach. Here's a package of bills. I think if we do this, it puts us on the forefront, moves us, obviously already being recognized that this could move us into the top 10 in the nation as far as tax policy. I think that is significant. Are there going to be challenges? Absolutely, Brian. No state that I've met with, including North Carolina, Mississippi, Arkansas, other states that have made these measures, passed these reforms on their tax policies, no state has not had some bumps in the road and had to go back and change some of it along the way. And I think we would be in the same position. But I think if we do not take this opportunity to move our state forward, when will we do it? Just like in Congress right now, you see now the results aren't all in, but overwhelmingly this country has voted for the Trump administration. They've moved the Senate now to a Republican majority, also done the same thing, or looks like going to happen in the House. I don't want to jinx anyone.
Right.
Louisiana did the same thing last year. And look, this isn't a Republican or Democrat thing, because you see Democrats voting with Republicans. Republicans have historically made some votes for Democrats. But I think everyone is collectively saying, let's put this to the side and let's do what's best for our country. But now is an opportunity for us to do what's best for our state. And it doesn't matter what party you're in. This is about the people of Louisiana and us having an opportunity to keep our young people here. We're educating some of the brightest students and sending them out of the state. Look, I'm really excited. I do know and I recognize, just like you do, there are some significant challenges. But as a collective policy package, I think we have an opportunity to go in there in this special session and begin moving this state forward.
All right, I'm going to ask you the next question. Please take it in the spirit that it's given. By having a special session that would work on tax reform when we have not yet worked on trimming down the budget, or we putting the cart before the horse, like, should this be done in this order?
So I'm glad you said that, Brian, because for the last 3 months, the legislature, the House Appropriations Committee has been meeting. We have been hosting budget hearings, examining, streamlining, efficiencies, everything we can do within our budgets and within our agencies to make our state's budget better. Look, every agency has been told, and not just told, but even ordered by the administration, who appoints those agencies' heads, to find those streamlining efficiencies within those agencies. So not only has the governor authorized his agency secretaries and commissioners to do that, we at the legislature have been hosting those meetings, having those meetings, advising everyone, look for the efficiencies within your agency. If you can't find them, we will find them for you. So I think this is absolutely a twofold conversation. Yes, the tax policy is important, but us finding a way to streamline our state is equally important. But Brian, go further. We already began that process this past spring. For the first time in 10 years, we held growth in our government to less than 2%. The first time in 10 years, we held growth. That was even lower than inflation. So this is not just going to begin because of today's special session.
Right.
This is something that the Speaker, Philip de Villiers, Julie Emerson, and many other leaders, Senate President Cameron Henry, we all had a conversation. We have got to find ways to make our state's budget more efficient. And I think that with this special session obviously coming in at the time that it is great, but this is a process that we've already began, and it just didn't get talked about a lot. It just kind of got pushed to the side because we were talking about congressional redistricting, criminal justice reform, all these other things were going on, but no one was really talking about what we actually did with the budget this year.
State Representative Jack McFarland, which was I knew you were the right person to ask that question. I mean, you chair appropriations, you're vice chair for the Joint Legislative Committee on the budget, so that makes you the right person to answer that one and this one. How much streamlining can you do without having a constitutional amendment?
So within the agencies, it's a lot easier to do some of that. Now, obviously, everybody talks about higher ed and Department of Health being the only two areas of our state where we can cut the budget. But that is true because they do significantly get the majority of the revenue from the state. However, if you look at each agency that gets state general fund dollars, and there are many of them, and even the ones that get stat deads, those are dollars that are coming into the coffers, but they're dedicated. Those efficiencies can be found without constitutional amendments. So there are things that we can significantly do to reduce our budget without having to have constitutional amendments. Now, are there some things? Obviously, because some of those stat deads are constitutionally protected. But with that in mind, we have that opportunity, even without a constitutional amendment, to make those efficiencies.
We got about 2 minutes left with State Representative Jack McFarland. I know you led this whole thing by saying it's not about any one individual bill, it's about the whole package. But the trade-off here for lower income tax versus higher or more widespread sales and services feels like it's going to be the overriding headline throughout this. When it comes to those two, I mean, are we looking at keeping things balanced on one end between those two? Are the numbers going to work out?
I think the numbers do work out, Brian. I think that it will be a challenge, but I do think that once again, no legislation, good legislation that's ever been passed didn't have to have changes along the way. Will it be during the special session? It could be. Obviously, bills change. We all know that very well. But even between now and when the voters get to approve some of these measures, because many of these will have to go to the voters in March.
Yep.
So there could be changes there. The voters may say, hey, well, we don't like this. Well, this is too much. We don't want to do this much right now. Well, look, we're going to be in a tax session anyways in the spring. We will come back, reevaluate it, see what we've done to put before the voters, see what the voters' reply is to us, and then we will have even another direction. If the voters come back and say, hey, we don't want to do none of this, okay, then we start over again and move on.
If they do, though, balancing next year's budget's going to be a tight one to be sure. Y'all are going to have quite the tightrope to walk. In the meanwhile, it's back to work as of today. He is State Representative Jack McFarland. We'll be checking in regularly throughout this special session. I appreciate you carving out a couple minutes.
Thank you, Brian. Have a good day.
You do the same. Coming up on 8:30 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Always appreciate Representative McFarland's time. We're going to stay on the same topic in our next segment. Daniel Erspamer from the Pelican Institute is slated to join us as we like to lean on the Pelican Institute for they're a right-leaning think tank, to be sure. That they get very, very active around this time. And Daniel is a fantastic resource. So I want to take a look at some of those individual bills with the Pelican Institute and talk about some of the services that might be taxed, talk about the transference, avoiding the idea of this being a shell game. So, hey, don't forget LSU women's basketball coach Kim Mulkey and the Tigers host Northwestern State coming up Friday night. Our coverage will begin with pregame at 6:30. Tip-off is set for 7 right here on your home for LSU women's basketball, Talk 107.3. Right now it's 6:30.
8:30. He said 6:30.
Damn it.
I know. One of those days, man.
How did Democrats lose 15 million votes from one election to the next? 15 million. Or nothing.
And that's the thing, like, yeah.
Nothing makes the case for the cheating argument from 2020 better than seeing a drop in 15 million votes.
Yeah, because, I mean, we're seeing Democrats cross party lines to say, you know what, maybe this isn't the best candidate. You know?
Yeah.
Is let's see, Mr. Erspamer going to be in, or he's calling? Or?
Erspamer, I think he's calling us. Dude. Let me get my stuff for my interview at 9.
Studio. Hello, sir. Good morning. Yeah, we'll have you up here in just a few short minutes. All right. Thank you.
weather. All right, let's go ahead and get a look at your forecast. Here's what we've got going on over the next couple days. We got a high of 88 degrees today. Overnight low gets down to 72. Tomorrow's high tops out at 86 with an overnight low of 73. 83 on Friday. Now, Friday, we've scaled back to a 20% chance of rain. Saturday and Sunday, we're looking at a 70% chance of rain Saturday, 60% chance of rain Sunday. Should cool things off for a couple of days before warming back. Actually, no, you know what? We're looking at the low 80s through the weekend and the first part of next week, and then potentially low 70s towards the back part of next week. Now, a lot of this is contingent upon what happens with Rafael out there in the Gulf. As of right now, looking like it won't be a threat for us over the weekend, but we will continue to watch it. Right now, 77 and cloudy in downtown Baton Rouge. It's 8:37 at Talk 107.3 FM. For the first time this hour, I think I have the hour right. You know what? Sorry, not sorry, y'all. It was a late night last night. Did I say it was 7 o'clock in the heading in the weather?
Oh, it was 6:30.
It was 6:30 going into break. I think I fast forwarded this by an hour on the way out of break, and now we're back up to the right time, which is 8:38 at Talk 107.3 FM. Like I said, no apologies. It's a punchy kind of morning. That's what happens the morning after Election Day. We are joined right now, rejoining the topic of the upcoming special session on tax reform. We got Daniel Erspamer from the Pelican Institute with us. Daniel warned me last night he might not be 100% this morning. I said, no problem. Nobody is. It's expected. Daniel, welcome back. How are you, man?
I'm feeling all right. I got the coffee flowing. We're doing great.
All right. No hair of the dog to start off the morning?
Not yet.
All right, fair enough. If coffee gets it done, then you didn't go hard enough last night. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's right.
Oh man. Okay, let's focus in on what's gonna go down starting at 3:00 today. From the Pelican Institute's perspective, what items are y'all looking at the most?
Yeah, the top on our list, two most important things. One is how do we phase out the personal income tax over the next several years?
Mm-hmm.
And how do we make sure when all is said and done that we have also constrained spending and put good spending limits and guardrails in place so that we don't end up right back in the same place a few years from now?
Okay, constrained spending is an important part of this because most of what we're hearing right now is we're going to lower the income tax, but we're going to broaden a number of services that haven't been taxed before to make sure they're serviced as a counterbalance. And Daniel, to me, that feels like a shell game. We just got done talking in our last segment with State Representative Jack McFarland, who says that between his Appropriations Committee and the Joint Committee on the Budget, man, they've been scouring, looking for ways to, what were his words, create efficiencies along the way. So I do feel like there will be some effort to curtail a little bit of spending. It's not going to be just a shell game.
That's right. I share that view. I think we saw a commitment to doing that by including reforms to the expenditure limit in the special session call. I know a group of lawmakers has been working on strengthening that. Look, our models show that just constraining the growth of spending, so let's not even talk about cuts for a minute, but if we just constrain how fast spending has been growing, we can phase this income tax out just over the next several years without any significant cuts to state government. And if you really find, as Chairman McFarland put it, streamlining and find those areas of efficiency, you can get this down pretty quickly. Look, the state budget has grown over 80% all in and over 53% just in state funds in the last decade. So there's a lot of room for those efficiencies. And getting the tax code right to get economic growth, constraining spending, that's how we get this whole thing situated out.
Now, the hard part here, Daniel, is the federal dollars. We've for the last, 2 decades or so, been able to rely upon federal money coming in for this emergency or that. As we continue to be, emergency free, what we're looking at here is being left up to our own devices. So that's where it really gets tough.
Yeah, that federal money is really addictive, and what we don't always realize, we're actually digging into some of this right now in a study we'll release in a couple of months to understand better what are the strings that are attached to federal money. It's not just quote unquote free money, and it's a reminder that those are our taxpayer dollars too. There's no federal money tree, despite what others may think in Washington, and those dollars have to be paid by somebody. And so when you get so reliant on the federal funds, it just makes it very challenging to get the fiscal house in order. And I think you've nailed it. That's been the big challenge over the last 2 decades, among the big challenges.
No, absolutely. And the cool part here, Daniel, is we have the opportunity to, full on Dave Ramsey, our state government. And then if something happens in the future, we can view those federal dollars as windfall as opposed to necessity.
You're exactly right. I mean, and I think the word opportunity is so important right now. This is a generational opportunity to do a big thing well for Louisiana. We don't have a great track record of that over the last couple of decades. And this is a moment, and not just an opportunity to get this done well, but really an urgent need. You know all the stats. We have the sixth highest outmigration, the sixth highest number of people who've left our state. We're in league with places like Illinois and New York and California, while the states around us are booming. And that's not just a statistical reality. We all have friends and family and kids, grandkids, neighbors who've had to leave to find work elsewhere. This is our opportunity, by getting the tax code right and getting the fiscal house in order, to really turn the tide and bring our kids and grandkids home.
Oh, I've got way too many friends that live in Houston, Nashville, or Birmingham these days. For sure. Absolutely. We're talking with Daniel Erspamer from the Pelican Institute about the upcoming special session on tax reform. All right, Daniel, one of the things that's going to be looked at is a number of the tax breaks that are out there, the breaks, the credits, and the like. From the Pelican Institute's perspective, do y'all have a take on how these should be approached? Because, look, as just an outsider, I see a lot of these that still show ROI. Like, I see a lot of these tax breaks and credits as showing positive revenue for the state overall. It's just, you set up, I know we don't have the best business climate overall, but what has been garnered through a lot of tax credits and breaks is still a good thing. What is the Pelican Institute's take? Is it a case-by-case basis?
No, I think we come at this from two perspectives. One is from a philosophical perspective. Anytime the government is in the business of picking winners and losers, which is what these special tax preferences are, somebody else is worse off. Our perspective is tax policy. If you're going to levy a tax, it should be flat, it should be broad, it should be fair, and it should be simple. Mm-hmm. And so if you're going to charge a tax, everyone should have a stake in paying it. And the problem is, the way, and this was a feature of Huey Long and Edwin Edwards' system. This was not a bug. That, if you wanted to be successful in Louisiana, you had to come kiss the ring in Baton Rouge and negotiate your tax preference. So what we have is a system where if you're an incumbent business that has a good lobbyist and a good lawyer and a good accountant, you can do pretty well. But what we've seen is that it really restricts our growth. It restricts, Louisiana hasn't been on the list for any major corporate or entrepreneurial move over the last decade, and here we sit with Texas and Mississippi, Arkansas, Tennessee all booming. And so if we're going to fix that, that means we have to get this right. And so, we don't want return on investment for government dollars. What we want is a return on investment for the economy, and the best way to do that is to lower that rate, the corporate and personal income tax rates as low as possible, and get them as flat and simple as possible. Now, from a practical perspective, I understand it's difficult. If you've negotiated your part of it, this is going to be an interesting process. But if we're ever going to turn the state around, if we're ever going to actually recruit new businesses, new entrepreneurs to come here, we have to take, whether it's in one fell swoop or over the next couple of years, phase as many of those out as possible and get to the lowest, flattest rate we can.
Talk with Daniel Erspamer from the Pelican Institute. Yes, that is the absolute goal. But I'm talking about the carrots on the stick along the way as well. Let me rephrase my entire question. I don't want to see the carrot on the stick go away before we fixed everything else. Does that make sense? It's
It
like
does.
until we've got our house in order, we still have to have an enticement to get inside our house.
Well, I hear you, and I don't think it's likely everything goes away all at once. In fact, it can't. There are contracts in place.
Yeah.
But if you listen to Susan Bourgeois, who's done a great job as Secretary of Economic Development, what she has said regularly is eliminating the personal income tax and getting simplification in the tax code. That's the best selling point we could give her and her team to go out and recruit new jobs and new opportunity to come here. So I think getting that part right is the most important thing, getting us on a pathway to do this. And whether it happens over a year or 2 years or 5 years, I think that's the part the legislature has to get worked out.
Got just a couple minutes left with Daniel Erspamer from the Pelican Institute. Let's pivot over to what can be done within the session versus what has to be done constitutionally. This time we're talking about the constraints on spending as well. While appropriations in the budget committee can evaluate and squeeze a little bit, if they want to get anything significant done, it's going to have to roll over into March, where you move something from constitutionally protected over to statute. What's the level of confidence what level of confidence do y'all have that we're going to see a constitutional amendment in March that can pass?
I am cautiously optimistic. That can pass is always the tricky part, because special interests are going to spend a lot of money to protect the things that they have.
Yep.
However, this is really important, and I think if all of us who are engaged in this make the case to voters that this is going to do what it promises, bring our kids and grandkids home, create Louisiana as the powerhouse of economic opportunity that it should be, then we can get this across the finish line. But getting that Article 7, which is the part of the Constitution that deals with finances, streamlined, and getting things that should be in statute there, this is what we've been talking about for years in terms of the Constitution. It's going to be a major priority, I know, of the governor, of leadership, and we'll see how the process goes. But I'm cautiously optimistic.
Going into it, speaking of cautiously optimistic, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit nervous here, Daniel. But that goes with the territory. If you want to see something actually get done, you got to step outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah, if this were easy, it would have been done already.
Right.
The reason this is so hard is it's built that way. It's built to be hard to change. That's exactly how the architects of Louisiana's tax code wanted it to be. So getting it to a better place is going to be messy and hard. And the question is, do lawmakers come to Baton Rouge this week as statesmen, or do they come as protectors of the status quo? And, we're going to find out. But I think a lot of folks are coming with the right heart in mind. And even if they disagree on the right solution, they're going to work hard to try to find the right outcome. He
is Daniel Erspamer from the Pelican Institute. We always appreciate the time, man. Thank you so much for hopping on today.
You bet. Anytime. Good to talk with you.
Likewise. Be checking in with him throughout the session as well. It gets underway at 3 o'clock this afternoon. It's a big ask and a number of big tasks, but man, there's the real possibility that we could see real change. Hey, Baltimore Ravens hosting Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals tomorrow night, 7:15. Your home for Thursday Night Football is right here on Talk 107.3. Time for Your Money Now. No. What? Oh, snap. Okay. Hey, Musso. Little bit. We ended our broadcast at 10. We left about 10:30. I really wanted to go to Julia Letlow's party over at Tiger Stadium, but I passed. I know. It looked great, but I still had a show to prep, so got to bed about I got to bed about 12:30 while they were calling it. Yeah. Yep, slept in until 4:15 this morning. Yeah. That's true. I do have Rotary news at noon, but it's all good. Speaking of Julia. 856 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Hey, before we get out of here, got to remind you one more time about Mondays with the Mayor. It's a weekly conversation with St. George's Mayor Dustin Yates. Monday afternoons at 5 p.m. It is called, like I said, Mondays with the Mayor. You can watch the show each week on the City of St. George's Facebook page. It's me and Dustin Yates answering your questions. It takes a lot to build a city from scratch, and that's what they're trying to do out there in St. George. So you have questions along the way, hit him up. Mayor Yates every week brings in somebody different, somebody working on a different area of building out a city. The last time we were on, it was his chief of police. Next time, no telling where we go from here. But Mondays with the Mayor, Mondays at 5, right here on Talk 107.3 FM. Before we get you to the outside in, just one more reminder as this the morning after the election. Oh man, I've had this conversation so many times, either during breaks this morning or via text or whatever. I'm asking everyone to play nice, and especially my own party. I'm on the right. I'm a conservative, and there's no reason to spike the football this morning. None. Act like you've been there. Throughout the election season, and by election season I mean every damn day for the last 8 years, you've been called a Nazi. You've been called a racist. You've been called a misogynist. You've been called deplorable. You've been called garbage. What I'm asking for this morning is leave it alone and be a better person. The last thing you want to do right now is prove them right. The argument on the right has been, no, we're none of those things. It's just a difference in policy. Spiking the football right now shows them that they were right to call you names, that they were right to defy this hard or to fight this hard in this election. I saw one post. I'm not going to say who posted it on Facebook, but this is somebody who's on the left. She says, the anger we are feeling Don't let anyone talk or seduce or con us out of it. There must be consequences. Unfriend people you love who betrayed you. Legal war. Like, that level of vitriol and meltdown should be met with love. Should be met with kindness. Should be met with a hand to help pick them back up because they're down right now. Someone's got to be the bigger person. All right, we got 1 minute to go. Let's do the outside in. We're going to start off in Ascension Parish. Donaldsonville's mayor hangs on to his seat by a margin of 66-34. Leroy Sullivan beats out Glenn Price. Price has been in the headlines a lot recently, facing different criminal charges, including being accused of stealing over $25,000 worth of copper wire and alleged money laundering in excess of $100,000 as well. Moving over to West Baton Rouge Parish, Port Allen has a new mayor. Teresita Pollard Patton beat out Clyde Robertson, senior, 55-45. While we're checking in on mayor's races up in West Feliciana Parish, St. Francisville got a new one as well. Andy DeQuilla beat incumbent Bobby Leake 56-44. Closing out in New Orleans, on Monday, a judge rescheduled the hearing to determine how homeless encampment sweeps will be handled in the future. 2 weeks ago, Judge Lori Jupiter granted a temporary restraining order filed by encampment residents, pausing sweeps after state police cleared a whole bunch of folks out before the Taylor Swift concert. That's it for us. Moon's next. All right, Facebook, I'm going to, I'm late for a coma. So, oh, God. Thank y'all for playing along this morning, Facebook and YouTube. Greatly, greatly appreciate it. We will see you on the morrow.